Republican senators up in Oregon are hell-bent on blocking these protections for women and trans people so much that they're threatening the budgets for even education, something else that they say that they care about, which we haven't seen much of results for as well, though. Oregon senators are also currently engaged in the state's longest ever boycott. They're just sitting out, essentially refusing to show up for work since May 3rd. We're over a month into this boycott, and what they're trying to do is make sure that there's at least 2/3 of the Senate out, so that they can hold up everything and all the business there is because those pesky gay folks. Republicans say that there are multiple reasons for this walkout, including their opposition to House Bill 2002, which expands protections for abortions and gender-affirming care. Democratic Governor Tina Kotek said on Wednesday that her talks to end the impasse have failed, and that Senate Republican Minority Leader Tim Knopp wants the bill on abortion and gender-affirming care to be, quote, substantially amended or dead. I have a good way that you can probably end these types of things. Vote. If you got enough people that are voting with you, you'll vote it down. Happens a lot in this country, a lot of times against people's rights. But for some reason, they're afraid to go in it on this point. Ashley Kinsey, who's a spokesperson for these Senate Republicans, said that their opposition to gender-affirming care in this way. We're standing firm as the last line of defense for parental rights. And I ask this every time, whenever you see conservatives talk about school board meetings, they come and disrupt. We're standing up for parents. Which parents? All parents? Or just the parents that you've convinced to believe that there's folks coming for their children? Because they're ignoring these other parents as if they're not Americans and they don't have any rights or say in their children's lives either. But that's just the way that they think. They've also stalled bills on gun control. There's other things when they're not participating in the process, there's other things that get held up as well. Now there's a record funding for schools that's been given that they're holding up as well. Tax revenues have exceeded state economists' projections, allowing lawmakers to approve a record K-12 budget of $10.2 billion with a B. That's how much they've got for some of these education initiatives, but they're not worried about that either, by the way. In addition to the $10.2 billion K-12 budget, which passed the state house with bipartisan support, the Senate Republican walkout could also derail education bills seeking to shore up pandemic learning losses and tackle the education workforce crisis. One such bill aims to address shortages of teachers and other school staff, particularly in rural areas. And they're gonna boost pay for special education teachers. And another would invest $140 million in a new early literacy initiative for children from birth through 3rd grade. And as we know, you guys, they've been talking about many people, and this is a legitimate concern. Many students who've been behind on learning things, especially when it comes to the formative years of learning reading, writing, and all those things of very young elementary age kids. And this may be a boost specific with the lack of teachers and the resources to do these things. But then again, we have to hold up this bill when it comes to giving people their rights, allowing people to be who they are. Amazing how that works, and we're gonna allow this to happen. What's y'all's thoughts?
You know what, this doesn't shock me at all, in part because when we look at the history of this country and trying to subvert any kind of progress and also trying to continue with the oppression, we've seen what they do with the educational system. We saw post Brown v. Board of Education and the call to desegregate schools. White parents lost it. And they ended up tearing up the public school system, creating charters, vouchers, all sorts of things so they could continue to discriminate. So it's not really shocking the thought that they are willing to bend over backwards so they could oppress and maintain society as they prefer it exist in their minds, at least.
Yeah, Republicans hate gay people so much that they want to burn down the schools. They don't care if their kids don't learn. And it reminds me of this whole, mixing of religion with politics. Again, coming from Iran, where before the revolution, it had problems, but it was not this totalitarian religious state. And as soon as it became the Islamic Republic of Iran, they took away women's rights. Then they took the rights away of the LGBTQ plus community, then religious minorities, et cetera, et cetera. And so you see these people creeping slowly in that direction. We all know a majority of Americans want a woman to be able to choose based on surveys, but that choice was taken away last year by a minority. And so similarly, we're seeing them, up in arms over this whole issue of gender affirming care, when we just talked about the fact that, this issue of people wanting the transgender community is a smaller community, and usually, as that other the politician had said in the previous block, it's a decision that's usually made with the family and with doctors, and there's a lot of people involved, and yet these people, because I believe their thoughts and ideas based in a far right religious mentality, they're trying to impose that on the rest of the state.
It seems outrageous that this many people can be convinced that you can skirt on everything else that seemingly is important to constituents that may get people elected, because we know that's what politicians really care about, is whether or not they can keep their power. But then avoid these types of initiatives they can take care of, all for this one culture war. It reminded me of Donald Trump when he was speaking over the weekend to a group of, I guess, these types of folks that support people like Donald Trump, when he noticed they don't really care about policy, specifically ones that he's worked on, versus the hatred. Look at him realize that. Watch this.
It's amazing how strongly people feel about that. You see, I'm talking about cutting taxes, people go like that. Talk about transgender, everyone goes crazy. Who would have thought 5 years ago you didn't know what the hell it was?
Who would have thought? I mean, I think a lot of Republicans would have thought. They've been fighting culture wars since forever. They just found the next target of it. And like, yo, we can distract them further. So he specifically said it explicitly. Yo, I talked about my horrific tax cuts, and I'm gonna do it to you again. And then you guys are like, oh, sure, yeah. I mean, whatever, who cares? I don't know what that means. What's a tax cut? But then if I talk about how much I hate trans folks, you guys lose your minds. This is easy, you dummies. I can talk about trans folks and I hate them and you'll lose it, and then reelect me. And then I can tell you how much I'm screwing you over. And you'll be like, yeah, whatever, I guess. I'll blame it on Democrats later. It's pretty explicit, you guys. Last thoughts.
I agree with you. It is explicit, and it seems to be very much on par for what the GOP is doing in the right wing. And the thing is, they're completely distracting from actual issues. And it's sad, because we see it time and time again how this fake boogeyman is something that is really, it's conjured up by the right to force hate against others. Meanwhile, they make a killing. They slaughter, they make the money they need. They engage in all of the corruption that they need. And yet, so many people out there are willing to act like that doesn't exist so that they can chase after some ghosts.
Yeah, that's like the playbook for the longest time. Even under Trump, he first went after Mexicans. Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers. Then it was immigrants are coming after you, Muslim ban. So then it was Muslims. Then it was Black Lives Matter. Now it's transgender. They always need someone to point at as someone who's coming to take them and take what they stand for. And as Adrian was saying, that allows them to not have any real solutions. They really don't have any solutions to everything they complain about. They don't have solutions for the immigration issue. They don't have solutions for the economy. They don't have solutions for inflation. They have zero solutions. And so what better way than to just complain your way away from having to make any actual progress or any actual change.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.